Well, Mr. Joshak Habila joins us now. He's a former DIG operations with the Nigeria Police. You're welcome to Sunrise City this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as a former police officer and one who got to the level of Deputy Inspector General of Police, you must have been very apprehensive about the attacks we have been seeing on police formations and police infrastructure in the southeast of the country. What have been your thoughts on the matter?
It's quite unfortunate that the police and their equipments have been the victims of attack by the same people that the police exists to provide security. As it is, it's quite unfortunate because the deterioration has gotten to a level where the police will begin to think. You know that the police, in getting to a training on how to police the space in this country, is that the police is meant to maim. When you shoot, you demobilize. You do not intentionally shoot to kill, because your responsibility is that which lies with the government. The police is that organ that ensures that the safety of the people is very paramount, as captured in 1999 Constitution. And so in doing that, their training is very, very conscious of the fact that when you want to douse a situation that is precarious, a situation that there's an element of breakdown of law and order, you are meant to ensure that you use minimum force as much as possible to be able to demobilize. You shoot to demobilize, but you don't shoot to kill. But a situation where members of the public or bandits and criminals or whoever they are will face the Nigerian police, not sparing them, but bringing them down, and then put aflame the facilities, then the police must go back to the drawing board to ensure that they do not get to them, neither do they get to their facilities and equipments.
Indeed, and so one will wonder what the thinking has been in that regard, because we recall very early on when we heard the first terrorist attack, the first one that happened at the Louis Edet house, where a bomber was able to come in successfully and detonate a bomb. We saw that, you know, across almost all security formations, at least here in the Federal Capital Territory and perhaps in some other parts of the country, that certain steps were taken to ensure that people do not even come close. So when we now see that an attack has happened in a place like Imo State, on the police headquarters, where inmates are also freed as well, shouldn't that have sent like a warning signal to almost all police formations, especially in the southeast, where there have been several attacks on security men, that, you know, something was definitely in the offing, and there ought to have been, you know, better protection of police formations and infrastructure. Why do you think that hasn't happened, or why do you think it's taken longer for us to be able to implement such a move?
Yes, you're right to say that there were indicators coming out from the fact that some of the police stations had earlier on been attacked. And that would have been a signal for all other formations in the Nigerian police to stand by and be at alert. Yeah, that happened, but you wouldn't know exactly where the next attack will be. But as it is, and like I told you, these things don't just come from the blues. Remember that there has been issue of the NSAS, where people had the opportunity to vent their anger as a result of some of the issues that have cropped up between the police and the people or the public that the police. And that's why some of them got that hint and say, oh, we can do this. And so coming out from some of the destructive tendencies that happened during the NSAS that you know in Lagos, that properties were burnt, people were attacked. Coming out from there, it is possible that this other group would want to do likewise. And this has happened. The police, I am very sure that they've learned a lesson, because it was not to happen in any way. because it had happened in one of the states and is now happening in other states. I think the police are going back to the drawing board. I have been monitoring what exactly has been happening with the new Inspector General of Police. And he's been able to, you could see some of his outbursts. You could see also that he had brought in those in operation and the head of admin, and that is the commissioners of police and their operations officers and the intelligence unit in the last 1 week. You know, giving them what exactly it is. They've been able to rehearse all that has happened. And I tell you that if there's any attempt, there's likely a possibility of a complete confrontation by the Nigerian police, because the police will never fall its arm and allow this thing to happen. But it's quite unfortunate, and I can tell you that who miss it somewhere, the police miss it somewhere for allowing this thing to have happened 1, 2, and 3. But I don't think they're going to have that again.
A few years ago, a newspaper did the hard work of collating just how many attacks have happened in the southeast of the country. Well, some parts of the south as well, but mostly in the southeast of the country. And at the last count, there were over 15 from January alone. Attacks on policemen who lost their lives, and attacks on police infrastructure as well, which we saw leading to the burning of cars and police stations, and the setting free of inmates, and in some instances, weapons being carted away.
Yes.
It's taken at least 4 months for us to be able to string whatever intelligence we're getting now together. Why is it so difficult for an institution like the police to be able to be swift in its response of how, you know, when it happens once, maybe twice, maybe once you called it an accident, maybe you were not sure, or an opportunistic crime. It happens a second time, it happens a third time, especially in 1 or 2 months. Why do you think it has taken so long for the police to be nimble in its response to such an aggression?
Yeah, I agree with you that it's not palatable. And I agree with you also that it has exposed some of the gap that we have in policing. And I think that is why the government formed an opinion, and the president of this country, you remember, he had to make a change of the leadership. I think that is a response. And that is an indication that the police must do something different. And that's why I'm telling you that I don't think this opportunity will be given to this criminal anymore to come in, because as much as I know, the police have that capacity to the deterrent of keeping these criminals out. And it is no longer a usual policing. It is now a big confrontation. And I think from what has happened these few days, any attempt to do exactly what has happened, I think the bandits are not going to go free at all.
What do you think, what exactly is the end game for those who have started this onslaught on the Nigeria police?
Yeah, you know, I also, while on serving, had opportunity to be around that area. I was commissioner of police in Abia during the IPOB. And a lot of them also would have been able to gather that they said that most of the policemen that they have, according to them, in the southeast are Northern police and Fulani police. You can see ethnicity, and that they do not want to, you know, to have them around, and that you don't want them. If you don't want them, then you could see also that they had the intention of releasing a lot of those IPOB and other criminals that were arrested with arms and have also used the arm either to take away lives and cause destruction. Illegal bearers, firearm bearers. A lot of them were mobbed up and they were put into detention, and they needed to take them out.
It's interesting that you say that, because increasingly they have been saying, no, we're not responsible for this. The ESN, the Eastern Security Network, which is the armed wing of IPOB, saying, no, we know nothing about these attacks. This is not us. Are we to dismiss that particular?
No, it's not true.
Should we take it on board?
No, they are finding an opportunity. Of course, they have to defend themselves. But I can tell you, I mean, investigation will show. But from what I have seen and what I've heard, it is true that they did what they did. They did that because in every situation, in every incident where they go to attack, the people they would want to release are the victims, are the suspect that are standing trial in cases of the IPOB, indigenous people of Biafra, struggle for independence and what have you. And so it's not possible for them to wriggle themselves out. And that argument does not stand.
Let me take you now to comments being credited to the governor of Kaduna State, where he has said, you know, that all governors are on the same page that bandits be killed. Do you know if the Nigeria police had any other policy towards banditry before now?
Policy towards banditry. Banditry, that word is actually, we have to look at that word, because who is a bandit?
Or criminality.
Yes, I think when we talk about bandits, we're talking about those marauding firearms bearers, people who illegally acquire arms to commit crime. Not just to commit crime, but to terminate the lives of innocent citizens, to a large extent of making it impossible for government to perform its duty of protection of the citizen. And the first line of action and the institution that is responsible is the police. Is the police that will ensure the safety of individuals as per the 1999 Constitution. And so what we have seen, a criminal is a criminal. So the police should know, and the directive and the teaching and the position of the assignment of the police is that the police must make sure that those of them that are going armed and want to terminate people's life, once you see somebody that is going armed and you've asked him to drop and he doesn't drop, in most of the operation that I went, I said, you should not wait for him to take your life. You cut off the hands and fling the gun away. You must demobilize him. You must get him out. Otherwise, a lot of people will go down with that arms that he's holding.
Let me flip this to Lagos now. I hear my colleagues have questions. Gentlemen.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mokwe. Mr. Abila, I mean, you said you've been in service in that area. And I just wonder, during service, did you witness anything as intense as this, successive attacks on police formations?
No. During that period, the members of the IPOB, with their leader, I have a lot of interaction with them. The Imam Powerful is the PRO, and they were a little bit calmer, and they hadn't then acquired arms, and it was not like this, but the projection that something like this would have happened. While I was there, yes, there was a lot of destruction, because they could take over Aba town, they could take over Umuahia and other states, and then made life very, very difficult for members of the public. But there was nothing like this. But they've gone to a stage where they've resorted to the use of arms and taking away people's life and attacking the police. When you begin to attack police in this community or in a society or in a country like that, then there's a problem. And that should not be allowed. Anybody that is going armed must account for that arms, and not just going armed, but using that arms to attack police. I think that is too far a decision, and such people must pay the price dearly by also bringing them down.
I mean, I recall just yesterday reports came out of 70% of the arms, illegal arms in West Africa, in Nigeria alone. But you seem to be quite sure and certain that IPOB is responsible for these attacks. The former IGP also mentioned that. But listening to the governor of Imo State, for example, saying that, well, this is not about IPOB. He actually referenced aggrieved, disgruntled politicians as responsible. But should we be worried as Nigerians that, I mean, after 4 months of these attacks, the Nigerian police force has not been able to definitively, especially to be on the same page with the governors as to who is responsible for this? We've not heard that anybody has been prosecuted or anybody is in court as a result of these attacks. Should we be worried?
Yeah, we should be worried. But, You know, too, that all governors are the head of their security agencies. It is very true that the governors are at liberty to sit with all security agencies, including the police and even the military, to put forward what exactly the security situation of such studies and how to tackle it. This, they have the freedom. They don't need to go to the IG. They don't need to go anywhere to do that. While we were in the States, the governors, those of them that are very interested in security will charge the way. And some of the programs that we implement in terms of providing security for people in the various states are suggested by the security and the military and all other security agencies and the apparatus of the government, the governor himself. Whatever we agreed, we implement. So it is very true that the government are at liberty, you know, to think that way. But a lot of intelligence, I'm sure, at the disposal of security practitioners and the Nigerian police is that it is those people who are agitating for one thing or the other, who wants their country, who also wants something to be done. Those of them may be out of job. Those of them with these challenges, you can't really profile who they are. But they tend to use this platform of the IPOB because in each of these attacks in these facilities of the Nigerian police, you find them advancing to release some of the people that were earlier on arrested. And some of them that we have seen are those that were arrested during the activities of the IPOB, the activities of what have you. And that's why we're situating it that way. If there's any other one, I'm sure it will rear its head. But I think the police have learned a lesson, and they're going to draw a line. And from what I picked from them, they won't let that free. Anybody who does that, I think they will be able to match force for force.
You know, matching force for force perhaps is instructive at this time because there are people who have had pointing accusing fingers at the police for being part of the causative factors to the general insecurity happening in different parts of the country. And they adduce their reasons that in some cases where they say persons who have been attacked by killer headsmen reported the matter to them, but they usually tell them either you drop the matter, usually don't get an encouraging response, but I understand we need to go to break now. But we'll come back to let you respond in just a moment. Stay with us.
In relation to Nigeria police under my leadership, our policy vision is to restore police primacy in the internal security architecture of the country by doing the following things. 1. Engaging cutting-edge policing technology and integrate intelligence-led policing practices to our functions with a view to strengthening our capacity to stabilize the internal security, restore order and public confidence in the force. 2. Giving full effect to the concept of community policing and deliver quality police service that will be guided by the principles of public accountability and conformity with the rule of law. 3. Taking the lead in strengthening interagency collaboration and embrace the social content of policing in which police officers see themselves as compassionate servants and helpers of the citizen and offer community services support to citizens in distress as well as vulnerable groups.
So, Mr. Abela, when you say what you picked from the police, that now they have the impression that they will not let this happen again, and many will think, so why didn't they come up with this posture for a long time now? Because many think that usually they look the other way when killer headsmen carry out their attacks. Because, I mean, there's an instruction that the agencies have to shoot at sight anyone who's seen bearing unauthorized arms.
Yes, I agree with you. That's why you see that there's a change. The Inspector General of Police, they just spoke is the one that have just come in. And you could see that what he was doing was like reading a riot act. Number one, he also addressed the issue of the police that they must be able to prepare themselves and avoid doing things that will attract disenchantment from members of the public. There are a lot of things that has been happening in the past that the police also have been able to, have not been able to address. And that's what he's saying, that the police must make sure that all those vices, practices of arrest of people and abuse of rights and extortion and what have you by all these bad elements in the police should stop. And you saw that he was very, very passionate about the fact that the people must be protected. Because by the time you begin to bring down police officers and their equipments,
so Mr. Abila,
you're trying to create a banana stick.
Part of what I did say was,
not let go.
When you say you agree with me, does that mean that you agree that for those who think that the police have not been up and doing when it comes to addressing or meeting force with force concerning killer headsmen?
Yeah, you know, the law does not permit officers just to see people who have committed crime, you've not investigated, and you have opportunity of getting him without really demobilizing him or killing him. The law says you should preserve lives. And that's why, as much as possible, police avoid the issue of bringing down people. They have the capacity to bring down criminals. Criminals you've not been able to investigate. And that's why they're very, very careful about, you know, approaching criminals and not really bringing them down at once until the situation is assessed. And so people will expect that when you see people gathering and are armed and that you don't need to ask questions, you spray them. That is not tenable. But police have learned their lesson, that whoever that is going armed and have been asked to drop, and he has not dropped, and he's not allowed, he's not one of those, he's not a security official, must be brought down.
Well, we have to thank you for your thoughts this morning. Mr. Joshak Habila is a former DIG, that's the Deputy Inspector General of Police Operations.